A local lawmaker who represents Golden Valley in St. Louis Park is ready to focus on public works projects and internet issues when the session begins in a few weeks.
In an interview with Mike Johnson, DFL Senator Ron Latz says there are 3 local public works projects he will be working on closely.
One is the Highway 55 intersection at Douglas Drive. There's a proposed pedestrian underpass there, particularly to help the Purpose Center students get to and from the bus stop safely and not interfere with traffic flow there. The second big one is DeCola Ponds in Golden Valley. Large flooding area. It's a catchment area for the runoff, and it needs to be dredged and fixed so that we can avoid a lot of the intersection flooding there during heavy rainfalls. And the third one then is the County Road 9 Rockford Road bridge over Interstate 494. It's been subject of a number of crashes. There's conflict there between pedestrian use and motor vehicle use, and I think we should just take care of the whole bridge, make it a good, solid, long-term reconstruction that will serve the needs of the community for a long time.
Talking about a lot of money for these things and politics, so we'll see how that plays out. You have a couple of things involving the internet. One is net neutrality, which is how to explain it, I guess, is equal accessibility to content on the internet. So what could happen there?
Well, this may be familiar to people from the changes that were made in Washington, D.C., in which they eliminated the net neutrality requirements for the internet. Net neutrality was a concept that people who use the internet at home or in business should have equal access to all of the content of the internet without having to pay extra for some of the content, but more importantly that all the content that's streaming to the user, to the consumer, not be blocked or slowed down based upon whether or not that provider is willing to pay more or less money. They can't purchase more for a fast lane. The reason this is really important for the consumers is that we want to have access to all of the content on the internet. If we want to access stuff that's produced by small businesses or local organizations that don't have the resources to pay the extra funds to quickly stream their materials, then we as consumers won't have equal access to that either.
One other internet consumer item is internet privacy, people having control over their own data.
Right. Whenever someone accesses the internet, they're going through an internet service provider, an ISP. And those ISPs have the ability to gather information on each of us that are using it. And then they can use that information. Right now there are limited restrictions on what can be done with it. It can be sold, it can be distributed. And for individuals that have only one provider of internet services, they don't have a choice. They can't choose to go to a different one that's going to treat their data privately. So I think individuals ought to have the opportunity to opt out, at least to say, no, my data remains private. I don't want it all to be spread out throughout the world.